She did not bother lowering her tone when she delivered the news. "You need to pack your things because my daughter needs this house starting tomorrow." I stood motionless by the kitchen sink, letting cold water run over my hands while my brain struggled to process her words. My name is Harper Sterling, and all I could think was how blind she truly was. She had no idea who kept this roof over our heads. "Tomorrow morning they will be moving in," Gwen said with absolute confidence. I shut off the faucet very slowly and gave her a single nod to make her believe she had one. She let out a small satisfied smirk that burned into my memory. I wiped my hands, brushed past her without saying a bit, and went straight into my bedroom. I knew arguing was useless because you cannot reason with someone who refuses to listen. Instead of fighting, I pulled out my phone and placed 2 quick calls. By early evening, cardboard containers lined every single wall of my room. By midnight, every single item I owned was taped shut and ready to move. When her daughter Paige arrived the next morning expecting they expected warmth, fully furnished rooms, and a comfortable home waiting for them. What they actually found was total emptiness and silence. The final container left the property right before the sun came up. I spent one last minute looking around the bare living space, letting the reality set in. There was no furniture, no cookware, and no personal touches left behind. I turned the lock, left the keys, and walked away. My phone started vibrating before I even reached the end of the neighborhood block. Gwen's caller identification flashed across my screen repeatedly as I kept driving. I let the calls go straight to voicemail while dozens of panicked messages began flooding in. She was demanding to know where I was and why the entire place was cleared out. When the third call came through, I finally tapped the screen and answered. "What on earth did you do to this house?" Gwen screamed into the speaker. I smiled to myself as I leaned back into my seat and kept my voice calm. "I simply followed your orders and moved out," I told her. "You stripped the entire place bare," she yelled back. I took deep breath and replied that I only removed items I personally purchased. A heavy silence fell over the line as she processed that reality. She argued that I lived there so everything belonged to the house. I reminded her that I paid over $6,000 every single month to keep the property running. The massive number hit her like a ton of bricks through the receiver. She claimed that was impossible, but I told her to check the bank accounts himself. Suddenly Paige took the phone, sounding panicked as she reported that the refrigerator was completely empty. Paige added that none of the utility bills were paid for the current month. I explained that I canceled all payments the moment I walked out the door. My mother-in-law grabbed the phone back, shouting that I could not just walk away like this. I looked at the house in my rearview mirror and reminded her that she ordered me to leave. Her breathing became fast and shallow as her control slipped away. "You need to come back here right now and fix this mess," she demanded. It was unbelievable that she still thought she had any authority over my life. I told her flatly that she told me to go, so I left. She accused me of twisting her words, claiming I did not have to take everything. I replied that I only took what was legally mine, nothing more and nothing less. Suddenly Paige cut back in, screaming that half the electrical outlets were not working. I calmly explained that I canceled the electricity and internet accounts that were registered under my name. Gwen gasped, asking how I could shut off the power. I reminded her that she wanted total control of the property, so now it was fully hers. Realization was finally setting in as they counted the hidden expenses. They were realizing that groceries, repairs, and power bills did not just pay for themselves. Gwen changed her tone, claiming I should have warned them earlier. I almost laughed because she had never asked a single question about expenses before. She used to walk through those rooms like the house ran on magic or her own generosity. She quietly admitted she assumed I was just helping out with minor bills. Paige chimed in again, revealing that the main mortgage statement showed a massive unpaid balance. I explained that I secretly covered the huge gap between her small contribution and the real cost. Silence took over the line as the truth hit them all at once. Every invisible structure keeping their lives comfortable was maintained entirely by me. She quietly asked me to return, but the demand had turned into desperate pleading. "No," I said clearly, and that single word shifted the power dynamic forever. She begged me to be reasonable, but I reminded her how reasonable I had been for years. I carried the financial burden alone while keeping quiet just to preserve the peace. Paige spoke up next, claiming they genuinely did not realize how much I paid. I told her I believed her, But ignorance does not erase the consequences. Gwen tried one last trick, suggesting we work together to solve it. Hearing her use the word together felt completely fake after how she treated me. I told her she made her choice, but she failed to understand the cost. She softly asked what they were supposed to do now that they were stranded. I instructed her to call the utility companies, open new accounts, and pay the balances. Paige let out a shaky sigh, saying they could not afford all those costs today. I did not offer any comfort because I had managed it alone for years. Her son Logan took the phone and offered to pay me back over time. I told him that years of silent sacrifice cannot be repaid in a single day. Gwen made one final attempt, asking me to come help. I pictured the clean kitchen counters I wiped and the late nights I spent balancing budgets. I am never coming back, I stated firmly before ending the call for good. Sitting in the quiet cabin of my car felt earned and incredibly peaceful. I started the ignition and drove away without checking my notifications ever again. I knew they would spend the evening scrambling, sitting in a cold, empty house with nothing. A final text popped up from Paige offering a late apology, but I ignored it. Some apologies arrive far too late to fix the damage that has been done. I pulled into the driveway of my new home, a smaller place that was truly mine. No hidden burdens, no toxic demands, and no ungrateful people taking advantage of me. I stepped inside, closed the door, and finally felt complete control over my future. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the subscribe button and click the video on your end screen right now to watch another incredible real-life drama.